Again, it's just the most important thing you can do for yourself outside of real estate is just this constant pursuit of personal development. It is just like learning who you are, what makes you happy, and then pursuing that every day.
Hi, I'm Carla Higgins, and this is the Double Duty Agent Podcast. I am so glad you're here. Each week we get together and we explore the stories of successful double duty real estate agents. And from their stories, you can find the solutions to overcoming your challenges and the keys to unlocking your success. Are you ready? Let's get started. Welcome. I'm so excited. I have got Cody Kuhn with me today. We're back to interviews. I know it's been a couple of weeks and oh my gosh, I'm always excited, but today I'm especially excited because we have got a rock star here who is not only started his real estate career as a double duty agent, he is still a double duty agent and just absolutely killing it. Absolutely killing it. So Cody, thank you for joining us. Welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to be here and appreciate
Ah,
appreciate the intro and all the hype.
that's not hype at all. I am so excited to have you share your journey and your story with everyone today. I know it's going to be so inspiring. So let's just start there. Why don't you tell me a little bit about getting your real estate license and what that looked like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I went to college at Kennesaw State and knew I didn't really want to dive into the corporate world. I actually had a friend of mine, Eric Baker, who's a really successful Keller Williams agent down in the Atlanta area. Still one of my best friends today. And so I started working and shadowing him a little bit while I was in college and started working on my license and was like, I'm going to do this real estate thing. This is going to be awesome. It's going to be easy. And then I found out unexpectedly I was having my first daughter. And so immediately, I'm probably about halfway through the course online while still finishing out college. And as you can imagine, flipping in kind of like fight or flight mode. That's like, I need to get a job that's going to pay me X amount every single month. I need healthcare. I need all these things. I mean, imagine where your mind goes when
Oh,
you're
yeah.
having your first child a little earlier than you expected. So I switched gears pretty quickly and dove straight into medical device sales. Actually, for about a year and a half, straight out of college, I started working there my last semester in school. Did that for a year, and it was just not for me. Out the door at 4 a.m., coming back at 4 or 5 p.m., and then prepping for a couple hours with a newborn. And so did that for a year and a half or so, and then I switched and got my W-2 job that I still have today, which is with a company called Whitecap. At the time, I was in a construction real estate operations role and was doing that. And again, I knew when I took that job, I still didn't see myself climbing the corporate ladder. I just knew there was more for me out there. And since I was in a corporate real estate construction role, I was like, well, maybe now's a good time to go back and get my real estate license. So I started working on my license again, doing the online course 2-3 hours every morning for about a month and a half. I'd get into the office a little early and hop in my cubicle and just knock that out for a couple hours every day for about a month and a half, and then got my license, passed the course and state exam first time. Thank God. I know that's tough to do, so I'm glad I
Awful
did.
test.
And off to the races. And from there, I was like, sky's the limit. I'm about to be slinging houses. It's all going to be great, you know? And so that's how I got my license, and then didn't know that it would take me 8 and 9 months to sell my first house.
8 to 9 months. Okay. Well, before we get there, let's go back just a minute because I'm hearing the very first choice, right? The very first choice was I'm going to get my real estate license, and then life says, maybe not right now, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then at some point you realize that this is where my future lies.
Mhm.
So I love that. Was that a difficult choice to make?
It was always in the back of my head, and I admittedly felt pretty defeated when I stopped getting my real estate license and I jumped ship and was like, I'm going to do this corporate thing because I felt like that's what I was being told I needed to do. But I knew in the back of my head that real estate was something I always wanted to do. And then when I made that decision again, it's like now I'm getting it. I committed to that quicker and with more intensity than I've probably ever committed to anything. And I was like, I'm getting this in a month. It took me a little over a month, but I just really, like you said, made that choice to really attack getting my real estate license because I knew, even though I'm still with that company today, I knew that's not the end goal, and it's time to start working towards whatever that end goal is.
Bigger vision than what that
Yeah,
provides.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so you mentioned 8 to 9 months. Tell
Yeah.
me about those first 8 to 9 months.
Yeah, everybody gets their real estate license and they think, I got my license now. Everybody wants to buy and sell houses with me. No, that's not the case at all. Nobody wants to be your first sale. And then you tack on, you got a full time job and you got a newborn. And you realize that when you're building your real estate business, you have to build your real estate business, you've got to prospect, you've got to talk to people, you've got to find time to talk real estate and really set yourself up to be in the position to have those conversations with someone who happens to want to buy or sell, And for that first 8 months, I really just got really consumed with my full-time job, and I wasn't attacking the business. I was waiting on it to come to me because I just assumed if I had my license, that's the way it works, right?
I'm with you, Cody.
So definitely wasn't the way it works. And then I remember my first transaction, and I actually, for the first time, had one of my repeat clients come back through and sell. And so I just this summer sold. I listed the first home that I ever helped someone purchase, a good friend of mine, Logan. And so that was a full circle moment for me to
That
get
is fun.
repeat clients. And once you sell the first one and you show and you've got that proof of I can do this, I know what I'm doing, or at least you think you do with your first transaction, it was off to the races from there, and really just focused on leveraging the people that I met in college and my friend group and their parents and families, and really just focusing on that. And still in that mindset, still at the time, it's going to come to me. And that's why it was a slow and steady climb, as opposed to some people who jump in and are door knocking and doing all this stuff and getting business a lot quicker.
Well, it's two different approaches, right? If you need it quick, then there are some lead generation strategies to go quick,
Yeah.
right? Just to go quick. Now, quick, I don't mean instant. It's still not instant,
Not
right? But
really.
it's
Yeah.
quick. We know that people move every 5 to 10 years. I don't know that
Yeah.
they actually know that number. They say 5 to 7, five
I
to
hear it
10,
all.
3 to 7. I've heard them all. It doesn't really matter though, because even if we know it's 5 to 10 or 3 to 7, we still don't know when in
Yeah.
that range when that's going to be. So you can build a business where they just come to you. It's just going to take you a while to build that business.
Absolutely.
So you started with your database, and I love that because so many times I have agents tell me that their database isn't ready yet. We just graduated from college, or we just graduated from high school, or
Mhm.
whatever that is. You're sitting on a gold mine.
Yeah, of people who are very soon to be coming into that stage of life where they are going to be first time buyers. A majority of them are. And so you just have to have that kind of long term vision
Yeah,
for
vision. You
people.
have a lot of vision. I can tell you that. You have a lot of vision. The other thing, though, that I heard you say about that was you realize that they also have parents. They have
Mhm.
people in their lives. So we ask the magic question, who do you know that might need my help? It may not be them right now, but they know people.
Yeah, well, I can think of several clients who have referred me to their parents, or even people that I haven't even helped purchase their first home yet that have referred me to their parents. I closed one of those earlier this month with a good friend of mine from college who sent me to his parents to list their home.
Yeah.
And so I realized very, very quickly it wasn't just my immediate friend group or the people I knew, but I met a lot of these parents, I met a lot of these family. And so it's like, how can I build my business around those people? And truthfully, to this day, that is still my primary pillar of just who do I love working with. And it's my friends and my family and their family is I would say over 90% of my business at this point is still that.
I love that.
Mhm.
Okay, so you said that's your primary pillar. What else do you do for lead generation?
Yeah, and so really starting to business plan now heading into next year, and that's been one of the things, admittedly, and we can get into this a little later too, is actually trusting the models, believing in the models, and starting to implement some of these business planning and lead generation models that Keller Williams teaches. And so I'm looking into that a lot now, and still focusing a lot on the 19 touch and 36 touch campaigns for the people that I do know, and then also trying to add to the people that I don't know. And I think trying to do that through speaking opportunities is a big thing for me, holding events for past clients as well as current clients, and then currently building out a plan for next year for monthly giveaways to
Oh, fun.
my current client base only, and then a second kind of extended giveaway to really anybody. And just hoping that helps me gather the information. That way I can start touching base with these people and just trying to find natural ways to keep in touch with them.
I
Um,
love that as a strategy because I love what you just said. We have people in our database, but we don't have all of the information about
yeah,
them.
yeah.
And then sometimes getting all of that information is A, intimidating, and B, maybe even a little difficult. But
Mhm.
if you tie that to something, a reward, an opportunity to win something, I love that strategy.
And I've just found that being straight up with them as far as like, here, I'm doing this giveaway. You're going to get, 2 Blackstone grills are going to be given away before football season, right? And so you're getting something here for a very little commitment on your end. And then I'm straight up with them that says, look, I'm not going to cold call you every week because I don't enjoy cold calling, and I'm not going to blow you up. but I'm going to put you in my system. That way I can systematically remember to just touch base with you. That way, 2 years, 3 years, 2 months from now, when you're thinking about doing something real estate, you at least know that you've found this person that's active in doing this and has an interest in touching base with you. And I tell them that, and it's received so well, as opposed to just being like, hey, can you give me your email and your home address? And
Yeah.
then they're like, yeah, what the heck do you want that for? So I found that that works pretty good. And it's time consuming. It's the administrative back end work of reaching out to these people and trying to fill in those gaps in command is time consuming, but something I'm trying to focus on this month and next month.
I love that. So you talked about models, and those models primarily come from the Millionaire Real Estate
Mhm.
Agent. And I love goal setting. We're getting ready to do our goal setting workshop this week,
Mhm.
actually on Saturday. And between the Millionaire Real Estate Agent and the one thing,
Yeah.
we have this laid out for us. So we don't have to make it up. Right. We
100.
don't have to figure it out. We just have to implement, right? Make it our own and implement it.
Yeah.
So very good. So I'm hearing your GPS is going to be your database, events, and giveaways. Am I hearing that right?
Yep, giveaways, and then social media. I love social media. If you go to my Instagram, there's a pretty inconsistent history of posting videos, but every time it's finding the time to and really setting out the plan and committing to it. But it's something I really enjoyed, and I think it's something that just opened the conversation for questions, or opened the door for questions from people, whether they were using me as their agent or not. Just people I could help answer questions for. And I found a lot of filled my cup just being able to put out videos and have those conversations with people. And so focusing on real estate and kind of drafting a plan for a YouTube strategy too is kind of my third thing to focus on. But
Okay, so social media and YouTube.
yeah,
YouTube. Okay. Like you mentioned time, finding the time.
yeah,
So you have four children, right?
yeah. Four
Four
kids.
children and a full-time job.
Hmm.
How do you find time for real estate?
Well, it's never there, so I don't necessarily find it. I have to make it right. And I'd say one of the best things I've done is gone pretty old school with this planner that I have, and I've been using it for 2 or 3 years now. And I time block like crazy for this podcast, for reaching out to clients. And typically, I'm very blessed with the way that I've been able to structure my full-time job with real estate. And I know some people don't have that luxury. I am fully remote, and so there's 100% a benefit there to where I can kind of set my schedule. But what I try to do is focus a lot in the mornings on just first getting my daily routine, my gym, my mindset, everything together, and then diving into administrative tasks, looking for new properties for my buyers, sending out contracts for sellers at XYZ, and then getting into filling contacts in command, reaching out to people, or playing on my YouTube strategies. And so it's really time blocking, and I don't like long time blocks either. So I give myself 30 minutes to scour the MLS and Zillow and everything I can for my buyers, and I cut it off, and I got to stop, and then I'm on to the next thing. And so I feel like time blocking has been the most important thing to me. And then just like things come up, so you can't, especially with all the kids, things come up, and so you can't always 100% commit to it. But if you can like 90% commit to this is my schedule, and be okay when things pop up, because that's something I had to work through over the last couple of years, is feeling like my schedule is all out of whack now, and then having a breakdown about it because I didn't get to do the things I wanted to do. And so I think I'm like a 90%. I'm sticking to this schedule, but when things come up, it just is what it is. You just got to
You have
roll
to
it.
be flexible.
You have to be. And in real estate in general, it's just a skill you have to learn, is to be flexible and kind of ever evolving. And so I just applied that to my daily schedule, and I've been a little bit more at peace with it all, but still attacking it the best I can.
Well, we have to learn, right? We fail forward a little bit. So
Yeah.
sometimes we get ourselves all discombobulated and we have
Yeah.
to reset, right? So after we
Mhm.
reset a few times, we're like, what if I just stay here and not get crazy? So that's a really great strategy.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So time blocking. This is absolutely critical. If you don't know what your work schedule is and you aren't time blocking, I have agents tell me, you know what? I just do real estate when it fits in.
Yeah.
It never fits in.
It doesn't. You have to make it fit in, right? You've
Be
got to craft
intentional.
that
Yeah.
schedule. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. The other thing I'm hearing when I was hearing you talk about your time block, which I love, is setting amounts of time,
Hmm.
right? Whether it's 30 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever it is. There is a bold law. Bold is a classic, Keller Williams, called Business Objective Life by Design. But there's a bold law, and it says that work expands to fill the container that you give it.
100%.
So if you give it an hour, you'll spend an hour.
Yeah.
If you give it 30 minutes, you'll get the same amount of work done in less time.
Yeah.
And I heard you say that you have to make the time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's never just there. And so I think it's every week. Typically, I try to do it on Friday just because I like going into my weekend knowing what my next week looks like. If I can't do it Friday, I try to do it on Sunday. If all hell breaks loose, I just got to do that at 5 a.m. Monday morning. That way, I just know what's happening when the floodgates open at 7, 8 a.m. But yeah, so it's making the time. And so I start at the top. I look at my shared calendar, my wife, and I'm like, all right, what's the schedule with the kids? Because honestly, that luckily I can plan my career around my family. I can't always plan the family around the career. And so I look at what's going on this week. What does my wife have on the calendar? Doctor's appointments, knowing I have to be home during this time because youngest baby is napping, the oldest two, mom's got to take to school, and then one of them's got a doctor's appointment. So I know I'm at home for this hour. And then I'm like, okay, well, what can I do during that hour? And that's how I start. And so I start at the top with our family calendar. I work into my W 2 calendar because I don't really, with your W 2, you don't really have control over when those meetings are for the most part. So I plug those into the calendar and then I say, okay, here's what my week looks like. Here's my to-do list. And I'm a big checklist to-do list guy. And so here's my to-do list of like critical things I've got to do. I put those in there first. And then from there, I say, okay, now where are the gaps? And it's not always the same as much as I like to do it in the morning. There may be a day that's heavy loaded with doctor's appointments and my W 2. And so I'm saying, but surprisingly, I've got this whole Monday afternoon open. And that's when I'm looking into my lead gen model and kind of what are the growth lead gen activities, really income producing activities that I can be doing during this time. And that's how I fit those in last. And I fit them in last, not because they're not a priority, but just how you have to layer them in there. That's just where they go. And I just realized what's important is just putting them in there, making that time for those items as opposed to just handling everything else. Because if it's not on the calendar, I can find something else to do, I'm sure.
Well, that's another bold law, right?
Yeah,
If it's not on the calendar, it does not exist. And you can say that it does all you want, but I bet if you go back and double check yourself, you'll realize
it
that
is.
if you didn't put it on your calendar. Now, I heard you say earlier a planner. Does that mean you're a paper calendar person?
So I've got several Google calendars. I've got like a personal Google calendar I share with my wife, and then I've got my residential real estate business kind of calendar that's also shared with her. The only one I can't combine into that calendar is my W 2 job because of the VPN and how all that works. But I am a very I'm like I like to write things down. So whether it's journaling or my planner or just planning and everything, I'm not going to be in Microsoft Word or OneNote doing that. I like to write. I feel like I retain more and I can grasp it all more. And so, yeah, I've got a big 365-day physical planner here that's day by day, and it's actually got 15-minute time blocks and a little to-do list at the bottom. And I fill that thing out every day and throughout the week. It's my schedule Bible, and it has everything combined, right? All of the
All of it.
family, W 2, everything is all in this planner. I pretty much take it everywhere with me. It might be a problem.
I like it. So you mentioned the morning and getting started in the morning
Mhm.
with your mind right. And we know when the morning, when the day, that's a fundamental thing. So tell us a little bit about what your morning looks like.
Yeah, no, that's a great question and definitely something I wanted to mention on here. And it's not just real estate related. I think it's personal development, mindset, and what I've been calling it lately is just figuring out my personal formula for being in the best headspace that I can be in every day for my family and at work and for myself, really. And so I call it a formula because I don't think it's the same for everybody. And so I can tell, people what I have figured out, what I know in my heart works the best for me. And so I wake up every day at 5 a.m. Monday through Friday. I'd say not Saturdays and Sundays for the most part, but Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. and wake up, make my pre-workout, and I head to the gym. I go to a gym up close to my house. On the way to the gym, and I think what's important to mention here too is I try not to look at my phone. If I've got an important text message, of course, but no social media, no scrolling through emails. I just want this first couple hours of my day to be only the positives, and there's nothing positive in my email unless it's an offer accepted. And so I try really hard to have some discernment and not do that. But on the way to the gym, I've started this app called Growth Day, which I've stumbled upon a month or so ago that I actually do love. I love it. I think the app is worth the app just for the day. He calls it the daily fire that he puts out. And it is a 10 to 20-minute, kind of like a mini podcast. And every day it is so relevant. And so it is on, I mean, this morning was on gratitude. Yesterday was on grace, just extending grace to people. And so, not to promote the app, but I've loved that really. And this is new. This is only over the past 30 days for me, but I listen to that kind of mini podcast as daily fire on the way to the gym. And it is always so relevant. And I really try to soak that in. Going to the gym, I listen to podcasts while I hit the gym. Started that a few years ago and then work out and head out from the gym typically around like 7 a.m. And so I get there maybe like 5:30, head out by 7. And for me, I do it for a few reasons. I think it's the most important thing. It's I have control over it. If I don't go to the gym, it's just because I'm being lazy. And so I think the first thing is like I have woke up this morning and kept a promise to myself. And that's what I tell myself. Like I'm going to the gym. It's the one thing I can control in this whole day. It's that I'm going to get up and go to the gym. So I kept a promise to myself. I got my exercise in, which I think is incredibly important. Probably one of the most important things you can do for your mindset and your health and your family and just everything. So I got my workout in and I left smarter is where I'm at. I'm like, I listened to a podcast, I got my workout in, and I kept a promise to myself all before 7 a.m. The sun rises now around that time, but before the sun wasn't even out. And so I would get home from that, and it's getting a little cold now, but when it's not cold, I love to go for a walk as soon as I get home. Just a silent walk, 15, 20 minutes around a little circle in my neighborhood. And then I walk in the door, call it 7:30. Kids are all hopping out of bed, little pitter patters running down the hallway, and then off to the races, really just with breakfast and everything with the kids. But I would say that 5 a.m. to 7:30, and my wife will attest to, is the most important thing I do for my week. And I have a 100% different mindset and just attitude throughout the day when I can make that time for myself.
You're starting the day with a full cup.
Yes.
Right? You're filling up your cup and starting it. Gary has the Millionaire Energy Plan. And he researched other people that were successful and found, and you just hit on all of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's the physical energy, there's the spiritual energy, right? There's the emotional energy, that's loving on your family, right? Getting the
Mm-hmm.
hugs and kisses, or I live alone with 2 cats. I still get that. Cats demand it, by the way, just so you know.
Yeah.
As much as kids do.
Yeah.
So you're hitting on all of those things. I am going to put in the show notes the Growth Day app, because
Mm-hmm.
while I haven't been on it, I have had a lot of people tell me that I need to.
You
So
should.
it's something I need to work on.
I really do believe. I mean, I believe it's $50 a month is what you pay, and you can write it off as a business expense because it's everything. And I think it's worth it just for that daily fire that he puts out. It has been so relevant every single time, and I love it. And it's short. It's not long. It's not a full podcast, and so I listen to it on the way to the gym. It's the first thing I put in my ear when I wake up in the morning, basically. And then it has lots of capabilities like journaling prompts that you can get into, lots of courses and webinars and stuff that he and Ed Milet and some of his other partners will put on. So I think there's a lot more to it than even I've been using it for. But I've been happy with it. I think it's just been great to plug that into my brain every single day.
I love that. Check with your CPA about deductions. We're not giving advice.
I'm not a CPA. I don't make the rules. I haven't even asked my CPA.
We're not making any recommendation there, but definitely check on it, because it's business. It sounds to me like a business expense, but I don't know. I'm not a CPA.
No, 100%.
So you mentioned journaling, and you talked about how filling out your day planner is a little bit of journaling, and then you just mentioned journaling prompts. Tell me how journaling plays a role in your mindset.
It's new, and it's one of the things both with my coach Jeffrey and with my emotional coach and just with the Growth Day app and just like all the different avenues that I'm pursuing just for personal development. Essentially, it's something that is always brought up. Every life coach is going to tell you to journal, and you see it everywhere. It's just something about getting your thoughts down on paper, and it's not something I'm good at. I can fill out my planner, but actually finding the time to sit down and journal is tough. And so I think for me, having something with prompts is important to prompt that thought process. And understanding it is difficult at first. If you're anything like me, I frankly wasn't raised being asked how I felt and what was going on inside and all these things that I'm still processing today. And so for me, learning how to say, how am I feeling? How did today go? How do I want tomorrow to go? What are my goals? Like really painting that picture and putting it on paper is tough for me. But I think it's a very useful and obviously proven exercise to just help with getting everything out of your head, releasing the anxiety and everything is apparently very important. So it is new to me, and I've been trying to do it, but I think it's still the one thing I've really got to focus on and pursue. And I haven't been.
Well, and again, we can get to the 90%. You mentioned 90% on your time block, right? The goal is to get you maybe you're not going to be 100% good at it.
But I feel like back to the formula, it's like I figured out my formula for all these things, and it's a constant. What can I add to it? Where do I have the time now to really commit to adding journaling?
And sometimes it's what's not working, right?
Yeah,
There's something that you're doing that you've committed to, and you realize it really doesn't work. It's okay to uncommit. You just have to be honest with yourself about it.
Yeah, 100%. I think like you said, being okay, even if it's something you feel like you should be doing or does make you feel good, but just like being okay with understanding that maybe that is what worked, but now you've had 2 more children. Maybe your life has changed a little bit more.
Or
Understanding, yeah, now you have 4 children all of a sudden. So being flexible, back to the flexible with maybe now is not the time for that, and it is the time for this, and just being more, I don't know, just flexible and at peace and okay with it all.
can we talk just for a minute about the walk? So that's something you and I share in common. In addition to list making, I'm a big list maker, but walking, I always struggle with meditation. That's
Yeah.
part of the spiritual energy and it's praying or meditating. And I always really struggle with that because I don't sit still well.
Nope. Me
I
with it.
don't sit still.
I'm
So I find walking to be meditation for me.
Mhm.
How does that work for you?
Yeah, no, same. I think I walk for a couple reasons. I think I make sure I leave my phone, or at least I put it in my pocket. I turn it on Do Not Disturb. It's like for 20 minutes, I just want to be with my thoughts. Because even when I'm at the gym, I'm listening to a podcast or I'm listening to the Daily Fire on the way to the gym. Like I'm not really alone with my thoughts. And I think that's the important part behind meditation is to not have the input outside of natural inputs, of course, in nature. And so I think for me, I do it for that reason, to just be alone with my thoughts for a period of time. And then I truly believe in getting sunlight first thing in the morning and how important just like breathing fresh air, not being in your house, and just there's a lot of studies around just sunlight and getting that exposure and the impact that that has on you. So from a health perspective, I do it for the sunlight, I do it for the steps, and then I do it for the kind of quiet time with my own thoughts. It's kind of
It's
the
also very grounding. And
yeah.
I think I find myself getting in touch with nature. I am 57 years old and I have seen things since I started walking that I didn't know existed. Like plants and the say I walk the same path every day. And so
Yeah,
as the seasons change, I'm feeling and I'm experiencing the seasons
mm-hmm.
change. So I think walking, and you're right. You said 15, 20 minutes. I'm the same way, right? It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to be like a major time commitment, but it's a big deal.
Yeah, 100%. I play with different things. Sometimes I try to do more meditative type things, like whether it's breathing. So the day before I read about just breathing techniques and trying to focus on that for 5 minutes of the walk. Or what's really hard for me is focusing on the sounds around me, which
Mhm.
you would think sounds easy. But if you just walk and you think for the next 15 minutes, all I want to do is think about the cars driving by and the birds that are chirping and the wind that's blowing. It is so hard. You'll be 20 seconds in, and all of a sudden you're thinking about the contract you've got to write up when you get back. And
Mhm.
so for me, that yeah, it's been the biggest just mental exercise, and it is so hard to
That's
just
getting in the present,
yeah,
right? Because we live our lives naturally either in the past or the future,
yeah.
right? We very rarely are in the moment. And our brain has a tendency to go, boom here, boom here, boom here. Somebody told me once I was having this conversation about meditation, and I said, my brain just will not cooperate and I can't turn it off.
I'm the
And the
same.
person said to me that your brain is just like your heart. When's the last time you turned it off? And I thought, "Okay." It was kind of
Yeah,
permission,
okay, yeah,
right? It was kind of permission because I don't want my heart to stop.
right,
So maybe I don't want my mind to stop either. It's just acknowledging it and saying, "Hey, can we get back to listening to the birds for a minute?"
yeah,
Can
and it is crazy how hard that is, and you're 20 seconds in, and you're like, "Man, why can't I do this?"
I
So
bet
that
everybody's nodding their head right now, Cody.
yeah,
They're
it's
all
really
just going like, "Yep, I get that. Me
it
too, me
is
too."
tough, man, so
Unless we have some Zen masters listening, then they're
I
like,
wish I
"Oh, come on,
was.
it's easy."
I tried sitting still and meditating too, and it's even worse. At least when I'm walking, I can get distracted by things that keep my brain from thinking about all the things I have to do. But sitting in one place and meditating is just not something I've got in my tool belt yet.
I've made it to I'm up to 7 minutes now. I'm trying really hard to get
Okay,
to
that's
learn to
impressive.
sit still.
That's impressive.
This is another app, if you ever decide you wanna give it a try, it's called Insight Timer. Insight, and it because part of my problem was I would be looking at my phone to see how long have I been? How long have
Um,
I been? Like, have I made it to 3 minutes yet?
yeah, you're like
Crazy.
waiting on your alarm to go off, and it's been a minute and 20 seconds.
Speaking of your phone, I wanna go back to something else that you said because I think this is critically important, and that is not starting the day with it, your
Yes.
phone.
Yep. And it's tough, and it's discipline and discernment, and I am not perfect at it at all either, right?
So
Um,
tell me what happens on a day when you grab your phone first.
I just think you immediately get sucked into it. I can get on my phone and I can go look at my emails, and there's not that much good that's going to come out of my email. I mean, I also have my rental property, my short term rental property business we haven't dove into, but I've got
Oh, you
those.
haven't.
And so I get emails from that, and I get messages from VRBO, Airbnb about that. If you're getting a message from the guests, it's not a good thing. So I have just, and I've found, I used to think I've got to respond to them immediately. But I realized they're from 5 to 7:30, it doesn't matter.
They're asleep.
Yeah, exactly. They're asleep. My clients aren't up and ready to respond to me, even though I feel this pressure to, once I get it, to respond immediately, whether that's 5 a.m. or 9 p.m. I feel this pressure internally to do that. So for me, it's just been days that I do get up and I get on my phone immediately and I start scrolling through emails. I think it just keeps me from really diving into the next 2.5 hours at the gym because I'm thinking about other things. When I don't look at my phone first and I don't know what's on there, sure, I've probably got some stuff in my head from the day before, whatever, but at least I'm not cramming it with something brand new and recent. It just keeps me from really putting my mind into the podcast I'm listening to or into the daily fire with him, or on my walk. I'm just so focused on whatever I was texted about. And so I think it just starts the day out worse. It keeps me from being present for that 2.5 hours that I try to devote to myself.
And in the days that you don't get on your phone and
Mhm.
you honor your commitment to yourself, do you find that that this creates fires that can't be resolved, or is there any downside?
I have never actually gotten off the phone and realized that the rental property was on fire and that I had just been not responding for 2 hours. Funny
Even if
enough,
it is, if you don't find out about it for 2 hours, does it really change anything?
exactly. I
It's
have not had anything where I'm like, man, I really should have seen that 2 hours ago. I really haven't had that experience. And then I think once you do that a few times, you're like, okay, my clients will survive if they wait another hour or two, or it doesn't make a difference to the listing agent. I did it this morning. It doesn't make a difference to the listing agent if I send her the offer at 9 or 10. It's once you work through that exercise once or twice and you've kept that promise to yourself. And I think that's for me, finding with the gym and with not being on my phone, making those promises and keeping it to yourself is, for me, I attack that. I'm like, how many promises can I make to myself and how many of them can I keep? And it fires me up. And it just, I don't know, it gives you this belief in yourself that like you can do certain things. And so I try to find little ways to do that. And so I'm not saying go say you're going to run for president next year and make that happen right now, but it's just like with, don't be on my phone for an hour, or get up and go to the gym, or take a break for the walk. I feel like it's that kind of stuff for me. It's the little things I can keep for myself, if that makes
I
sense.
love that, committing to yourself,
Yeah, yeah,
right? Things that are important to you and committing to yourself and understanding that if you can't commit to yourself, then what's the chance you're going to be able to commit to somebody else?
100%. And I wholeheartedly believe that. And committing to yourself and keeping promises to yourself, that's the first step in building confidence too. And so for people that don't have confidence in who they are, maybe they don't have confidence in it because they don't keep their promises to
Yeah.
themselves, you
And
know?
make a small promise. It doesn't have to be
Yes.
something big, it's small.
Little,
Maybe
little.
if you're one of those people that get out of bed, but before you even get out of bed, you got your phone in your hand and you've checked your email, your social media, you get sucked in and whatever. If
Mhm.
you're that person, make a small adjustment. Get up and brush your teeth and start the coffee pot or whatever it is, and then look at your phone. Give yourself
Mhm.
some space and then give
Yep,
yourself more space and then give yourself
yep.
more space. And don't say, I love what you said. Don't say you're going to run for president next year. There's no election.
Yeah, you're right. Totally. And so, no, I
Thank
totally
goodness.
agree with that. Setting the small standards for yourself and trying to hold yourself accountable to those, and like little wins build up to big wins. And then if you're not disciplined at all, then technology is pretty cool. You can actually set it up to where it won't let you on certain apps until X
Oh,
time.
yes, there are
You can
hacks.
you can
Uh-huh.
really get in there and set those parameters on yourself if you're not disciplined enough. And I
Now,
think I've
how
used
about
that.
on the back end? Do you have boundaries and expectations for your clients on what they can expect from you in the evening then as well?
I try to set those expectations. I know I'm in the real estate business, and then in the rental business, you're really hospitality. And so this is something as a family we've had to work through a lot, and it is tough to set those boundaries. And I think it comes in waves. But with clients, I tell them if I'm not replying, it's because A, what you need from me is not something you need from me immediately. And I've either got something that has a more immediate need, or I'm designating time with my family. And I do tell them that up front, and I tell them at the at buyer consults and listing consults that if you text, I mean, I'm going to see it. I have my phone attached to my hip, and so if you text me, I'm going to see it, and I will know, is this something that needs attention right this second? And if it is, I'm going to do what I got to do because every agent is. But if it's not, then I just ask them to trust my discernment that this can wait 30 minutes or this can wait an hour. That way, I don't take this time away from my family or something else that needs more attention. And so I do try to set that standard with them, and it's never not gone over well.
It's just expectations.
Mhm.
When's the last time you called your doctor at 9 o'clock at night and expected them to answer?
100%. I hear similar stuff like that all the time. 100%.
Yeah, this is not true. But so many agents feel like they have to be on on call 24/7, and
And I
that's
have that
just not
that
true.
little devil on my shoulder too. It really is, as you build your business. And I think an important part of this is working with people that you know and that you like and that you trust. Because if you're working with people you don't really have that relationship with, then you feel a little bit more of that tension. But I think it's building the clients that know you and they know that you've got their best interest in mind. You're going to reply when you need to reply, but that you've got a life and you've got a family and you've got
Other clients.
relationships and other clients. Who knew we had more than one client at a time? Clients don't know that. It's just finding those people that understand that. And then I think, again, setting that expectation from the front is something I didn't used to do either. And I felt this pressure to be on my phone at 10 p.m. when that's the only time I get to spend my wife and watch a show that we like together or something. So I try very hard. But again, I think it's 90-10. And
90%, right?
my wife knows as well as I do when I am in my busy time. And my wife is, I could not say enough great things about her. It's just, she knows when it's those times, she steps it up a lot in those times when she knows I'm working, because she knows it will come down. And I think we ebb and flow very well based on what each other's got going on, with who's got to step it up today with the kids or with this or with that. And still, I try to do my best to carve out the family time. And
Well, I love that because you start your scheduling with that,
yeah,
right? You started with the most important thing at Keller Williams, we're God, family, and then business, right? So
yeah,
you start that way. You build your life around what your family needs first, and then the rest, because that's
mhm.
ultimately that's what matters most.
Yeah, it is, and it's a tough thing to realize and buy into and commit to. I would say is the thing, is actually committing to that, because you can get, and I've been there. You get in this mindset of, I love my family, I have my family's not going anywhere. This client needs this contract written right this moment, right? Is where your mind goes, and realizing that that's really not the case most of the time. There are those cases, but most of the time your client can wait an hour for you to write that contract just so you can have dinner with your family. And I have
As
to,
long as you tell them,
yes,
right? As long as you tell them, I have another appointment. I have an appointment with my family for dinner, and then I will get a contract written.
yeah,
They're going to honor that.
yeah.
They're going to honor that.
Don't overpromise and say, I'm on this right now, I'll have it to you in 30
Oh,
minutes, knowing
yeah.
you've got dinner with your family coming up. I've been guilty of that. And so it's just this constant pursuit, really, of just having those honest conversations with your clients, setting clear expectations, and knowing yourself what the priorities are and what's realistic, that it can wait an hour for you to
It
have
can.
dinner with your
I there's an agent that I've worked with in the past, and she always said she set boundaries like this. She told her client, unless it's fire, flood, or blood, I don't answer after 8 o'clock. And if
I
it's
like that.
fire,
That should
flood,
be
or
in my
blood, I'm not the person you should call.
or my voicemail, actually, or like I'm
Yeah.
on
If this is fire, flood, or blood, you need to call 911. Otherwise, I'll get
otherwise I'll see you at 8 a.m. tomorrow.
yeah,
I'll
exactly.
do that. I need to steal that.
I love that. All right, before we go, I want to talk a little bit about your triple duty, actually, because it's not just double duty. But before we do that, let's make sure, let's touch base. So we always do choices, actions, mindset
Mhm.
shifts. So let's start with the choices. Tell me what you think the key choices have been for you
Yeah.
uh, in your real estate journey so far.
Yeah, and I know we get into actions next, but I would say the key choice is action. It is anything good that has come for business or family or my relationship with God, just everything under the umbrella of my life has all come from taking action, from making that
Taking
phone
action.
call, from getting in an uncomfortable situation. For me, it was getting my real estate license while I was working a full-time job, or calling X client, or knocking on this door. My client that I'm getting under contract today, hopefully, was found because I took action and started posting all over every Facebook page I could find and reaching out to agents in the area to try to find an off-market opportunity, and I found one. And if I didn't do any of that, if I didn't take that action, they would not be potentially getting under contract on the first
They
home.
wouldn't have they wouldn't have a home. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
exciting.
we would have to continue to wait for something to come on market. I'm sure we'd find it, but I've just always been rewarded when taking action. And I've run into a few walls too taking action, but I think more often than not, I've been rewarded just by taking the action.
I
Um,
love that. Okay, well then let's talk about actions. What do you think is the two or three most important actions that you've chose to take?
Yeah, and I had thought about this a little bit. I think the first thing is referring back to just figuring out what your personal development formula is. What makes you happy? What puts you in the best headspace to attack your day and be there for your family, and just all of the above. And so for me personally, the best thing I've done and continue to do is just attacking and figuring out what is my personal formula for my personal development.
your business grows to the extent that you do.
100%. And so when my mind is right and I feel like I'm giving my family what I need to give them and everything, and I know in my heart I'm doing right by them and by God and by work, everything else follows truly. You find that energy and you find that motivation to take action and to call those clients. Whereas if you're not in the right headspace, you don't want to make cold calls. You don't want to go knock on doors or do the extra work. So I would say it's attacking my personal formula. The main action for my business for the entire time basically has been the relationships that I have with current clients, past clients, their families and friends. That'll still and hopefully always be the main pillar for my business. And so it is really intentionally checking in on their Instagrams and their Facebook regularly, job changes, birthdays for their kids. And I don't spend a ton of money on this, but I love to send Starbucks gift cards to my teachers when they start school. I love to send a
Oh,
little Amazon present to my client who just had their first birthday for their son. And so it's not expensive at all, but you just send these little things that says, I've been keeping up with you guys is really my goal there. And so that's probably the second action. And then the third one, which is really what I'm still 5-6 years into my career and coming to the realization through coaching, right? I started coaching, and that's when all the heavens open basically, is figuring out what I need to do, is implementing the models, is not just reading the book. And I've read the book twice, but actually implementing the budget model, the Legion model, and not saying, okay, here's my Legion activities, but going further, creating that 411 and really diving into, okay, if one of my Legion pillars is farming, what are the 4 actions I can take? Which action am I doing this week? And like really breaking it down. And that has been just the game changer as far as developing that plan, but then it gets you in just this headspace of I'm doing this right now. Whereas if you just sit around and wait, it's so easy to just feel like,
if you don't have a plan, if you don't have systems and models, you're only going to go so far. That's that you're going to hit a
100%.
ceiling and you're never going to break the ceiling.
So those are the 3: building relationships, focusing on relationships, figuring out my personal formula, and then just focusing on the models.
The
Don't
models and
recreate the
systems.
wheel. Get these models there first, and then sprinkle in some creativity.
You can yes, you can get creative once you can
Once,
customize it to yourself once you figured out how to apply it.
yeah,
I
100%.
love that. By the way, I heard Gary say once that you should read the MREA 13 times. So by my count, you have 11 more to
I've
go.
got 11 more to go, and it is probably about that time. I've read it. I think I've read it like once a year. Basically, I read it a couple years ago, and then I read it again last year, and so I'm probably about due for another one. But I did do big MREA business clinic and stuff, so I basically got the whole book again in that
You
clinic.
got it again. Yes.
But yeah, it is
Count
about time.
Just it's okay. You can count it however you want. We
Yeah.
won't tell Gary.
All right. I only have 10 more. I only have 10 more.
Awesome. All right, mindset shifts. Tell me about those. What do you think was the most important in your mindset shift, where you were when you started and where you are right now?
Yeah, a couple things. Speaking to my dual career agents, I think the biggest mindset shift for my happiness and my peace and just calmness and where I am today is that your W-2 is not a burden. It is not this thing that you have to get rid of today, or it is do or die. And for some people, their situations, again, may not be as convenient as mine with mine. But for the longest time, even when I first got my license, I looked at my W-2 as just this burden that I wanted to get out of as quickly as possible. And I got to go full-time real estate. And it creates this pressure and this anxiety in you to do real estate and do enough transactions and to chase, all the things you shouldn't really be chasing from as an agent, all the things you shouldn't be focusing on. And so when I eventually just said, my full-time job actually provides me security for my family. It makes it to where if this contract doesn't go through, I still can feed my family next month. It's not like I need this contract to go through, because when you need it to go through, you don't make the right decisions for your clients.
You
You don't
strangle it is what you
Yeah,
do.
you strangle it. You don't give the actual true guidance that you're supposed to give to your clients, because there's a piece of you that wants this transaction to close no matter what. And so letting go of this full-time job is my burden, but holding on to, like, the end goal is to leave this job. And when that day comes, I can imagine just the biggest weight off my shoulders. But for now, just finding peace in, this is just where I am. I'm building my business how I want. It will come, but not hating and feeling burdened by the full-time job, I think was a big mindset shift for me as a dual career agent. As far as real estate related, I'd say just letting go of the outcome with your clients.
Mhm.
And you cannot be, and it is, when you're a dual career agent, like I said, you're probably trying to get out of your full-time job. You need these closings. You want to build up this savings and build up this business. But you got to let go of it. You don't make the best decisions. You don't push that little bit harder that you should be for that client. because you're like, they can deal with an old water heater. It'll be fine. You don't push that. I truly don't believe you push that extra little bit when there's a piece of you that, again, needs or wants that certain outcome. So letting go of that outcome. And then I tell myself with clients now, I want to work as hard for that client as I would work for myself when I purchased a house. And I told myself this because I purchased 2 houses of my own now. And I remember how hard I went on both of them as an agent for advocating for myself, especially with my current house. Just had a lot of issues. We got a great deal on it, but had a lot of issues. And I remember how many contractors I met out here to get quotes to really get the full picture. And I was like, have I done this have I pushed and put this much effort in for my clients? And I've done a lot, but I didn't do all that work. And so
It's a
really,
good check-in. Yeah.
so when I bought this house, and it's been about 2 years, that's when that mindset changed. And for clients, and it's different, some are easier than others, but when my clients purchasing a house, I really truly am like, what would I do for myself in this situation? That's been a big mindset shift, and they can feel that Cody cares and Cody is figuring this out for us.
Oh, yeah. I love that so much. Okay. Now, before we wrap up, Cody, tell me a little bit about your triple duty. So I know you started, and you've mentioned it a couple times, an investment business. Tell me about that. First of all, I have to say, this is the only business that I can think of where insider trading is 100% permissible.
So we have my short-term rental business. Is that right?
Yeah.
And so basically, again, I got started in my career, and this is probably about a year or two after I started. I think I've been doing it for 3 years now. Again, trying to figure out how can I take the pressure off of needing to sell real estate. That way I can build that business slowly and how I want it. And you see a bunch of stuff online about Airbnb arbitrage and all these courses you can take and how the short-term rental market was exploding. And so I just thought, how can I pursue this as a third little business here just to bring in extra monthly money? And over the last few years, I've just been able to develop a few relationships with people. And now I manage these properties. So I'm like a property manager for these short-term rentals. But luckily, because it's short-term rentals and it's under a certain time period, you don't have to have a real estate license or park your license with an actual property management company to do this. And realized that it was zero risk for me. The owners are the ones that purchase the properties. The owners are the ones that fund furnishing the properties. I'm just managing the entire process. And so it started out just managing a property, and I basically make a percentage of gross revenue on a monthly basis for the management. But it has actually transitioned into opportunities where I have helped for my biggest rental that I have. I actually helped this investor find the property. I did the whole short-term rental forecast for him, told him what it could make, helped him purchase the property as his realtor, and then helped him completely renovate, stage, furnish everything top to bottom this rental property, and then I manage it month to month. So it is really goes hand in hand with my residential business. And honestly, it's a tool that not a lot of agents have or know about.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just not a lot of people that understand short-term rentals and how to forecast for them and how to confirm all the local ordinances and regulations. And so it's very, very, very niche, but just having that in my tool belt has been incredibly useful just with helping other agents going through this stuff with buyers and then just referrals to me for people that are interested in short-term rentals. And so I have 3 with a 4th one coming on. Again, this is something I started and I very similar to my residential business. I just let it grow naturally. It's been all referral based. Property came up right when I started, and then from there it's all been referral based and have created not passive, it's hospitality, but at least kind of extra money to come in on a monthly basis. That again takes the pressure off of having to sell real estate, right? Still.
It's an income stream. I remember the first time I heard Linda McKissick, who is one of the regional owners at Keller Williams. The first time I heard her say this, it smacked me a little. I'll just say it. She said, in real estate, if that's your only income stream, your last closing is your last paycheck.
Yeah. 100%.
And so having this multiple streams of income is so important. And especially for anybody who's considering in the future transitioning from dual career to full-time real estate, having these multiple income streams will carry you through the market roller coaster sometimes, right? So
it's
good.
Something, the multiple income streams is something I've always believed in and always thought about. And it has been, frankly, it's changed my family's lives just from a stress of having to sell real estate, to ebb and flow with the market, and then just having the multiple streams of income. That way, as some other things pull back, and it gives me more freedom and more potential to leave my full-time job eventually. And so I think it's just really important. And I would say having multiple streams of income, but trying your best to have them in adjacent areas. That way they're not totally different. At least, luckily, my short-term rental, my residential stuff kind of butts up together a little bit. My industrial real estate thing is totally different, but at least it's all in real estate. So it's stuff
It's
I enjoy.
all there. It's all
Yeah.
there. Awesome. Well, Cody, that's a couple of things. One, I am assuming that you would love to get residential real estate referrals from other agents that have part of their database that might be moving into your area. What areas do you service?
Yeah, so primarily North Atlanta metro areas, so Cobb, Cherokee, North Fulton counties, some of Bartow. I've got lots of great referral partners as well, like inside the perimeter. I'm just a little bit north, and I do work inside the perimeter here and there too. Frankly, I take it client by client just in the Atlanta area, and if I've got other clients in the area and I group them in there, it works. If not, I just refer them out to some of my awesome partners that are more local and knowledgeable in those specific areas.
Very cool. So I'm going to put your contact information in the show notes so they can reach out to you. Now, if they had questions for you about the Airbnb business, would that be something they could reach out to you on as well?
Yeah, 100%. I love to help, and not a lot of people know that I do that kind of stuff. I haven't done as well about putting it out there, but I get lots of questions from our brokerages and just referrals and stuff. So I'm happy to answer any questions I can for people on short-term rentals or anything really.
Oh, I love that. Okay. Cody, thank you so much. This has been so amazing. And I know everyone is leaving absolutely inspired by your story and the little tips and tricks that you gave them along the way, the app and everything.
Yeah.
Before we go, is there any one thing that you really wanted to share today that I didn't ask you?
I don't think so. I think, again, it's just the most important thing you can do for yourself outside of real estate is just this constant pursuit of personal development. It is just like learning who you are, what makes you happy, and then pursuing that every day. Because I have truly felt in my life, like over the past 6 months pursuing this, my life has been changed. My relationship with my wife has been changed. My passion for real estate has been changed, all by just filling my cup with gratitude and with God and just with all these things. And so it just pursue it. It's not easy, but figure out your personal development formula is kind of
Personal development formula. I love
I'm
it. All
pointing
right.
it to them. I'm pointing it.
You should. You should teach a class at it. That's what you should
No,
do. Write a book. There you go.
I could put a lot down. We didn't even get into pre-real estate license, and that's a whole
A
another
whole other
thing.
one.
Not to,
Well, I may have
to,
to have you back on. May have to talk something else. So,
yeah,
Cody, thank
anytime.
you so much. And everybody, thank you for joining Cody and myself today for the Double Duty Agent podcast. I absolutely know for a fact that you're leaving inspired. If you would do me the favor of thinking of another agent that should be hearing Cody's story and share our episode, and if you would follow our podcast and give us a 5-star review if we earned it, that helps us get with new agents and have them join our Double Duty Agent family. Until next time, I'll see you soon.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for joining me today. I hope you're leaving inspired and you found a key or two you're going to try out this week to see how they help you to unlock your success. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single story. And if you'd like to get in touch with me, you can find me at doubledutypodcast.com. That link is also in the show notes. Until next time, have a productive week.